Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Richard Osmond, who's the CEO of Element 29 Resources, who are a emerging junior resource company with a highly experienced management team and board focused on exploring and growing its porphyry, copper-molybdenum-silver resource deposits in Peru, one of the lowest risk mining jurisdictions globally. Richard has over 25 years experience in the mining industry across North America, Europe and Scandinavia, and has worked for the companies like INCO, Falconbridge and Anglo American. Richard's going to give us a overview and history of Element 29, obviously the projects they're involved in, talk about Peru as a mining jurisdiction, some of the challenges that they've faced as a company, and also leadership qualities needed for a junior miner. So Richard, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to speak to your audience.
Yeah, great. So just wondering if you just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your career. As I mentioned, you've been in the industry for 25 years. You worked for a couple of the big companies out there, and you've been working across a few different continents. So just wondering if you can give our audience an overview of your career.
Sure. I guess I started my career mostly in the nickel space, worked for Falconbridge, which is now Glencore, and then a couple of friends of mine found Voisey Bay, which is a large nickel deposit in northern Labrador. So I got an opportunity to work on that in a really early part of my career. And we were drilling ore for Diamond Fields, I guess, Robert Freeland's company, and then eventually that got sold to INCO for like over $4 billion. I think at that point I was hooked on exploration, and from there I got hired away to work with Falconbridge again in Quebec, where I worked on the Raglan mine, and we drilled off a lot of ore there too. Big nickel deposit. It's still going. That was back in the 90s that we're doing that work. So a world-class deposit. Yeah, from there, I got hired away to Vancouver, where I live now, with Anglo American. And I still worked a little bit on the nickel side, but we started to transition into working more on the copper side as well. So we're doing work in Arizona, Mexico, Alaska I think we started, and I was involved a little bit in the Pebble due diligence work, where Anglo eventually acquired a position in Northern Dynasty. And from there, I resigned from Anglo and started a new prospect generator called Globetrotters Resource Group, and eventually spent about 7 years exploring for copper in South America, primarily in Peru. That's where Element 29 came from. We actually spent about 7 years building up a copper portfolio, which we spun into Element 29 and listed in late 2020.
Yeah. So I wonder if you just give us I suppose a snapshot of Element 29 Resources, so our audience knows a little bit about the company.
Element 29, as mentioned, was a spin out of about 7 years of cumulative work by Globetrotters exploring in South America, Peru. Obviously, it's certainly copper focused as a junior resources company. It's listed on the Venture Exchange as well as the OTCQB, and we actually have a Lima listing on the BVL, which gives us access to all the South American markets. We're really exploring for tier one copper discovery opportunities, I guess, in a world-class mining jurisdiction. We have 4 early to advanced stage exploration projects focused on copper in Peru. Our flagship project is Elida, porphyry copper-moly-silver deposit, which we put out an initial resource estimate on back in 2022, and we're currently drilling there.
All your projects obviously are in Peru at the moment. I just wonder if you can just tell us and obviously our audience What's it like to operate there, and what's it like as a mining jurisdiction?
Yeah, there's always a lot of white noise coming out of Peru during the election cycle, but we've been active there for quite a long time, maybe 12, 15 years now. The company has just over 25,000 hectares of titled concessions. Peru is, generally speaking, it's held a position as the second largest copper producer globally. I know it does flip back and forth lately, as of late with the DRC, but I think it's held this position for quite a long time, and I think it will continue to grow. Its copper inventory to keep up. Mining makes up about 60% of Peru's exports and about 10% of the country's GDP, so it's a big part of their economy. Mines still get permitted there. And Mitsubishi just got their environmental permit to move forward with the development of Zafranal, which was discovered actually by our chief technical officer. He was first boots on the ground to make that discovery with tech. And Anglo put Quellaveco into production like 2 years ago. So things definitely move forward, even though sometimes you do get a lot of, I guess, instability on the political side. But I mean, it just, you know, the country can't develop these kind of deposits. It needs foreign investment, and it needs big mining companies to be able to build these things. The other thing that's really interesting about Peru is that it has a free trade agreement as well as a bilateral investment treaty with Canada, US, as well as China. So large mining companies are willing to go into a country like Peru and spend the billions of dollars it takes to develop these large copper mines. With the free trade agreement, you avoid double taxation, moving money in and out of the country, and the bilateral investment treaties mean that you are protected from your foreign investments are actually protected. You can take the country to international arbitration court if they try and take it away from you. So it's overall a very stable jurisdiction where major mining companies are still willing to develop mines.
Yeah. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your flagship project and I suppose some of the things that really excites you about what you're doing with the project?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of exciting stuff happening, certainly with Elida. We're currently drilling there now. It's our flagship project. It was discovered by Globetrotters back in 2012 as a grassroots discovery, which doesn't happen very often in South America. I know the majors have done a lot of work there during the same period we've been there, and they haven't really discovered a whole lot. So we feel pretty proud about that, and we spend a fraction of the money. We optioned the project to Lundin back in 2014, I think. They did about close to 10,000 meters of drilling. And then, things got a bit tough. I think the price of copper went to $2 a pound. Lundin decided to shut down worldwide greenfields exploration. So we managed to get the project back unencumbered with Globetrotters. And then we decided the best way to move forward with that project would be to spin it into Element 29 along with three other earlier stage projects back in 2018, and then it got listed in 2020. After that, Element 29 did about another 5,000 meter drill program on the project for about 14,300 meters. And we put out an initial resource estimate, very early stage, but we just wanted to show, the kind of potential the system had even at that level. And we outlined an inferred mineral resource estimate of about 321.7 million tons of 0.32 copper, 0.3 molybdenum, and 2.6 grams per ton silver. But within that, we had a higher grade section that ran, or resource that ran 60 million tons of 0.5 copper, 0.04 moly, and about 4 grams per ton silver. And we're now currently drilling on the project. We put together about a 4,000 to 6,000 meter drill program. We're probably not going to get all of that done this year, but we'll definitely get to about 2,500 meters of drilling done before the end of the summer or end of the fall campaign. And what we're looking to do there is to try and expand that resource base, but also to try and also infill within the existing pit and to get that 60 million tons up to something a little bit larger as a starter pit. And that sort of higher grade resource actually outcrops pretty much on surface in the middle of the pit. So that's sort of a good place to sort of be putting in, developing the infrastructure to have a fairly high grade starter pit as part of the initial production.
What do you see as some of the biggest challenges and also, I suppose, opportunities for Element 29 resources in the coming years?
Well, I think certainly, we feel that, we've been looking for copper for quite a long time. We've sort of known that this copper crunch was coming. We could see the level of discoveries really dropping off, whereas, the demand for copper is certainly increasing. We could certainly see, the need for copper that renewable energy transition kind of thing, and like even you're looking at like these server houses for these large tech companies. I mean, they're looking at buying nuclear facilities just to be able to run them. So the amount of power needed to market is just incredible, and copper is really the only true metal that's able to do that, and it becomes a big part of any growing economy. So we've always been very bullish on copper. So we continue to be that. And I think for us, with our Elida project, we'd like to sort of continue to grow that, and with some more drilling, and do some metallurgical test work, and hopefully try and get it up to a PEA level. And clearly, there's always challenges associated with exploration. There's no guarantees that you're going to be able to continue to grow the resource to the level that you need it to be. But we'd like to sort of see an in situ resource getting up, or certainly a resource base of over half a billion tons would be good, as a project that we feel that can be sold in a market where there's a huge demand for copper. The other thing that's really neat about our Elida project is that it's very low elevation. It's about 1,600 meters versus Antamina, which is about 100 kilometers away, is over 4,000 meters in elevation and likely a bit over 4,500. So it's strategically well located. It's about 200 kilometers north of Lima. You can drive right to the project. And also, what's really neat is that we're actually closer to the Antamina port than what Antamina is, and we can drive to it. And also, the Peruvian government, along with the Chinese company Costco, are opening up a mega port in the port city of Chancay, which is also about 150 kilometers away from the project, so an hour and a half drive. So we can actually drive to both ports. So we have access to some significant infrastructure to make for a very low cost, strategic operation, I think. And the other thing that's sort of neat about our Elida project is that we haven't done the met work, but I mean, we know from the mineralogy that we're going to be very low arsenic concentrations in any con that we produce. So that's also strategic, because then you can it'll likely sell at a premium, and it'll be high demand, because a lot of the porphyry copper deposits that are being developed these days, they tend to have a fair bit more arsenic associated with
I wonder if you can just give us an overview of the copper market. I mean, obviously, it's been up and down this year, and how you see it playing out over the next, I suppose, few years.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we still believe that there's still going to be a supply crunch. BHP are coming out and saying recently that they think there's going to be about 1 million tons of extra copper needed per year to keep up with the demand. And that supply demand sort of is very well balanced. It doesn't take a lot of over demand to really constrain the supply, and then you see prices jumping up. So we're sort of like expecting to see copper prices to continue to rise. It'll be a little bit of volatility, I guess, as copper is really a good metric for how the economy is working as well, and you're continuing to grow, and I think if the world is sort of moving towards a net zero, copper and also molybdenum are considered critical minerals. The world's not going to, we're not going to need less of that, and discoveries are definitely getting harder to find. So what I think is going to happen is a lot of projects are like, the larger projects in the world, there's going to be a lot more brownfields exploration where they're going to be lowering their cutoff and head grades to be able to mine more. Projects are going to start to develop underground operations to keep up with that demand. and we're going to have to make some new discoveries, and that's the real challenge is going to come in. Even if you go underground, on a big deposit, say like Cerro Verde, you go from producing about 250,000 tons a day to between 100 and 150,000 tons a day. So you have to have like 2 to 3 times the copper grade. And I don't know if that's actually viable. These deposits don't give up grade very easily. So what's going to likely happen is the price of metals are going to have to go up in order to be able to make these types of deposits economic.
What are the key priorities for stakeholder engagement and corporate social responsibility at Element 29?
Yeah, we do a lot of work on that, sustainability, best practices kind of thing. And, we obviously try to be stewards of the environment, and we do a lot of work on health, safety, and security, implementing best practices. We do a lot of work with the local communities that we work with. Peru is probably one of the more sophisticated permitting sort of wow, what's the word for that? One of the more sophisticated permitting implementations that I know of. You got to do a lot of work. A lot of communities have been designated indigenous in Peru, especially the Andean communities. So therefore, we have to do a lot of work on assessing the collective impacts with the community, and we have to get the government involved. We also have to do a very rigorous environmental process to get permitted to drill. Even we have to do a lot of baseline study work, including sampling water, air, and soil in and around the site, and also do a lot of archaeological studies and things like that to be able to show that during the course of our drill campaign, we're having pretty much a zero to a very close to zero impact on the environment kind of thing. And then we have to, once the collective impacts have been assessed, sometimes you can get exempted from having to go through what's called a prior consultation process, where we work with the government to make sure that we minimize our impacts to the community in that regard. And if we have to go through that process, then we do. And everything is carried out in a formal way, no shortcuts. And at the end of the day, we end up doing a community agreement with the community to lease the ground where we operate, and also, provide economic benefits to that community. So very rigorous overall, and we're pleased to have to do that. We want to make sure that we do, you know, best practices from a sustainability perspective.
As a CEO, what is your leadership philosophy, and how does that shape the company's culture and decision-making process?
Those are good questions. I think for me, it's really about vision, our mission, trying to stay on track and be able to, continue to. We sort of founded this company, so we want to continue to move it in the right direction. We believe in the projects, and we believe in our team. And we think that, we're going to put money into projects that we feel have potential for tier one discoveries. And, you can't really go out and just stake a portfolio like we have. I mean, it takes us mining cycle almost to acquire. We just have to believe in what we're trying to achieve. And, I think the biggest challenge has always been the markets. We're sort of at the mercy of the markets in order to raise the money to be able to continue to move and grow. But we try to protect the value of the company when times are tough, so we don't dilute too much. And then when we see an opportunity to raise money at a decent valuation, then we do that to try and move forward with our projects.
Just wondering if you can just tell us a little bit more about Element 20's leadership team, obviously including board management and other key people.
That's a good question. I would say our chairman, Brad Mercer, just came on this year. Actually, he's got a lot of experience in the junior resource sector. He's been around the business for most of his career. He ended his career with Capstone Mining, and he was part of the initial founding group, or certainly he worked there for quite a long time. I think when he joined, they had about a $20 million market cap, and I think now they're over seven billion. And I think when he left, they were about a 5 billion, and that was in 2022. He's retired now; he's on the end of his career. But I mean, having someone like that at the helm, I think, is very good for the company. He's seen a lot, and he's done a lot. So has a good feel for how things need to be done and how to get things done. We also have Manuel Montoya, who's our Chief Technical Officer. Manuel's Peruvian. He's based in Lima. He's worked throughout the Americas with starting his career in the mining business with Cominco, and then moving to Tech Cominco, and then to Tech. And I think he was the principal geologist for the Andean region when he resigned and joined Globetrotters, and eventually came on as a CTO and country manager for Element 29. He like I had mentioned before, he was first boots on the ground in the discovery of Zafranal, which is a porphyry copper project that Teck and Mitsubishi jointly own, and they just got the environmental permit to advance that to development and production. So, he's seen a lot of different projects in Peru, a lot of copper projects, lots of gold projects, and he just has tremendous experience, and he knows the geology of Peru very well.
Lastly, what's the outlook for Element 29 resources over the next 6 to 12 months? And is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
Yeah, we're drilling right now, which is always exciting. I mean, we love it when the drills are turning. That's what that's sort of where we create value. So we're hoping to get some news out on that over the next, month and a half kind of thing. It'll likely be early in 2025, but if we can get it out sooner, we will. We're storing the core. We're planning to do some metallurgical test work on the core. So we're actually storing all of the core rejects in nitrogen. We've started doing some, polysection work to see what the mineralogy looks like. So we're sort of prepping ourselves to be able to start some network to be able to get a sense of what the recoveries are on the mineralization so far. We're also continuing to advance our 3 other projects, which we really don't speak much about. Our Atravesado project is located just 26 kilometers to the southeast of Cerro Verde, which is like the 3rd largest copper mine in the world, right? Very difficult to get access to ground like that in Peru. It takes a fair bit of work, and we've been slow to get drill permits there, but we're actually at a point now where we've got the environmental permit from the government. We've been exempted from the DIA process because the community is in the area of influence of Cerro Verde, so they understand mining very well. So the collective impacts are very minimal. So all we need to do is finalize a community agreement, and we'll be able to start the drilling process on that project. Likely, if we see an opportunity to get in there next year, we'll certainly be doing that. We also have another project called PACA, which is sort of along strike in the same sort of corridor east of the coastal batholith, which is a large, deep, intrusive body that runs up along the entire coast of Peru. This is where most of the we call them tertiary magmatic arcs occur, which are the source of these large porphyry deposits. So we believe that our PACA project has also potential for tier 1 discoveries. We've reached out to the community. We've already done our baseline study, so we're trying to get that project into the pipeline as well. And if you go to our website or take a look at our projects, you'll see what we have. I mean, all of our projects definitely have potential for significant copper discoveries.
Richard, appreciate your time. Thank you for giving us an overview of Element 29 resources, obviously what you're doing in Peru, and obviously tell us a little bit about the management team and your leadership style and philosophy. So if our audience wants to reach out to you, obviously if they want to follow the story, get regular updates from yourself, how can they go about doing that? What social media platform channels are you on?
Yeah, we definitely post on LinkedIn for sure, and also on X. And we certainly put all of that information on our website as well. So either one of those would be very easy to get access to me and our.
Yeah, great. We'll include those in the show notes accompanying this podcast for easy access for our audience to see what you're up to and get regular updates. So thank you again, and hopefully you can probably come on sometime next year and give us an update.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. I really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, I mean, it's really good to get a chance to speak to your audience, as I mentioned before, and hopefully you get some good feedback.
Yeah, certainly. And all the best for the next month or so and going into 2025.
Yeah, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode. As always, appreciate your continued support. Please keep sharing these episodes far and wide. Obviously, Richard explained obviously the need for copper, and I think we need to spread the word amongst people outside of our industry, because obviously people within the mining industry know how important copper is moving forward, but we need to obviously make the general public aware and obviously make them aware of what we do in the mining industry. So like I always say, please keep sharing these episodes far and wide. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes, and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.